Hello again, this is Gravitas. At his first NATO summit in Brussels today, US President Donald Trump kept up with his campaign rhetoric. Standing among leaders of Europe that have been US allies for nearly half a century, Donald Trump chided the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, the President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and proceeded to lecture them about the dues not paid to the US. In one address, in fact, he even equated the leaders of much of the free world with cheap debtors. And I might add that we are bringing you live images from NATO, from Brussels rather, where the NATO summit is underway. You can see German Chancellor Angela Merkel was there, of course. Theresa May sitting right next to Donald Trump, and Turkish President Erdogan as well. Donald Trump, in fact, reminded the Assembly that 23 of 28 NATO members did not pay up for the protection that they claimed from the US. He went on to say that this was unfair to American taxpayers because they were being asked to foot the bill for Europe's security. He also reiterated how his administration was different from the previous ones and would work to secure American interests. This, in fact, is not the first time that Donald Trump has targeted the North Atlantic Treaty countries, a coalition that formed the backbone of its defense against the erstwhile USSR. During his campaign, he raised several eyebrows by saying that the organization was perhaps now redundant given the reduced threat from Russia. Some US commentators have raised questions against the president's closeness to the Russians. This is the NATO chief speaking. As you can see on your screens, NATO countries, meanwhile, continue to look to the US for strategic help, while some members have privately expressed dissatisfaction about Trump's attitude. A resurgent Russian belligerence has seemingly limited their criticism of the US. In fact, last year, several EU nations had criticized Moscow for sending tanks into Ukraine.
Those differences and unite around a common purpose. We protect each other, we stand together, we are NATO. I will now invite Prime Minister Charles Michel to say a few words. Belgium has generously hosted our alliance for 50 years and has provided invaluable support for this meeting. So thank you, Charles, and now you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Dear colleagues,
just heard the NATO chief. The proceedings well underway. Glenn Carl continues to be with us. Glenn, we've heard from Donald Trump, and ahead of these meetings, US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson also told reporters that Mr. Trump, quote unquote, really wants to persuade NATO members to step up and fully meet their obligations. So is this going to be the big focus? Who will foot the bill?
Well, it's certainly Trump's focus. I think it's one of the few points that seems within his grasp, actually. And Trump is correct that most NATO members have not met what their formal commitment as NATO members is, which is to spend 2%, I believe it is, of their GNPs or their budgets on defense. Previous presidents have struggled with this issue also. So in that sense, Trump is, marked a point that does make sense. However, there are other issues involved in being a NATO member and pressures on NATO members too. So it sometimes is useful to take a simplistic perspective, not always. On that one point, I think we will hear Trump hammer away at that for the duration of his tenure.
After meeting Donald Trump, the EU president, Donald Tusk, had said that they agreed on many areas, but they had differences over Russia. Is Russia even on the agenda?
Well, apparently Russia literally is not on the agenda because NATO members are seeking ways to make nice to Trump and make him feel happy and that he has a success. It's very alarming. I could spend probably 20 minutes detailing from a Western NATO perspective, hostile steps that Russia has taken and is taking that are so alarming that they could reorder the balance of Europe within a matter of days. It is a grave situation. And the activities of Russian intelligence, the Russian government, in Germany, France, Great Britain, with the French election, the Brexit election, the United States, the American election, and targeting the American campaign and the Trump entourage and family members is almost an existential challenge. So not to talk about it is astounding, outrageous, and frightening.
Let me read out to you what one of the analysts said. There are concerns that NATO joining the anti-IS coalition could lead to the alliance becoming embroiled in post-conflict Iraq or Libya as it did in Afghanistan. How is that expected to play out?
Well, the announcement that NATO just made that that NATO is formally part of the anti-ISIS coalition is a bit of showmanship to make Trump feel nice. NATO members already have been and are engaged in the counterterrorism struggle and operations for many years. Cooperation bilaterally and with NATO is intense, as close as can possibly be. Nations have taken steps in Libya, in Iraq, in Syria. They are active now militarily in Afghanistan. So it's almost an empty statement that will make Trump feel good and claim that he has success. Could it embroil them? Well, they are embroiled. Is that wise? That's certainly debatable. But the announcement is a bit of public relations for Trump.
Right. Glenn Carl, we'll see how things play out at NATO. The meeting's very much on right now. Thanks very much for joining us. We're going to take a short break. Up next, we'll bring you the highlights from the grand finale of the Europa League. Do stay with us.